We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Thursday, September 12th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and this is News Generation. Today we're joined by Cheska Hong.
Happy Chuseok, everyone!
Happy Chuseok! And Joyeon.
Happy Chuseok!
Happy Thursday!
Yeah.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, we're going to move straight on to our main discussion of the day by taking a look at the screen.
Just a few days away from Chuseok, Korea's Thanksgiving holiday. In the past, many would stay home and enjoy Chuseok special TV programs or movies. Nowadays, with so many streaming services available, people are more likely to scroll through their subscriptions to find the perfect show or movie to binge watch during the holiday. What are you planning to watch this Chuseok?
Right, so today we're going to talk about some content that you might want to see during the long Chuseok holidays. So I want to start off by asking our panelists, do you enjoy using or watching content on streaming platforms? And if you do, what do you usually watch?
I mean, I think if you are part of this generation, you probably could not live without having at least one.
I think you will subscribe to at least one service.
At least one. And I absolutely love streaming services because one, there's no time limit.
Oh, right.
And there's absolutely no limit on the amount of content that you can really watch. And especially for me, I love foreign content. So like Big Bang Theory, Friends, and How I Met Your Mother. And unfortunately, these kind of sitcoms ended quite a while ago.
Right.
So I mean, if it hadn't been for OTT platforms, I would have suffered greatly. But I also know there are some great documentaries and new shows that are being created on OTT platforms like every single day. So yes, I definitely am part of the generation.
Right, these platforms offer so much, right?
So much, yeah.
Right. And Hyunwoo, what about you? What do you usually watch?
You know, I do enjoy streaming platforms as well. Maybe a little too much when it comes to the holidays. We've recently started the fall semester at our university, so I don't have much time on my hands. But maybe that's a good thing because I don't really want to binge watch series over and over again. And things can get really dangerous when it comes to a show that I really like or want to watch. And as for the content that I find myself watching, I don't think I have a specific genre that I watch in particular. Just whatever I get recommended from the algorithm and what seems most interesting and trendy. And I think a big part of that is because these platforms have replaced a lot of the traditional TV watching that we do, if not all of the regular watch time that I usually have on my TV. And there's so much content you can choose from. And of course, as Cheska mentioned, you don't really necessarily have to be confined to the regular schedule and program to a TV program.
You can basically watch anything that you want at any time,
Anywhere,
right? Anywhere.
anytime, exactly, yeah.
Right, and it seems like based on our discussion, it seems like the younger generation in particular is very attached to these platforms. We've talked about this a lot on NewsGen before as well, and I think that they're also spending a significant amount of time because they're so into these services.
Absolutely, and I definitely, like he mentioned, I'm one of those that try to curve my hours spent on OTT. So let's take a look at the screen to find out how much time are we actually spending on OTT on average.
I think a lot.
I think a lot too, right? So when I took a look at the statistics, it was very interesting. So by age group, obviously 20 spent the most per day, on average about 70 minutes. Then from the 30s on, it was around the same time, but all slightly less than an hour, as we can see. But to be honest, I'm a bit curious, even if it says per day, because I have a feeling that most of us have those particular days where we concentrate more heavily.
Friday night,
Yeah,
and also holidays like Chuseok.
Exactly, that is Chuseok, just like what we're experiencing now. Like those in their 30s and 40s who have a regular workday schedules, or like those in the college that may have like breaks.
Right.
So even though it says the amount of daily time is about 70, I would actually think it might be more than that.
Oh, yeah, I see. And I think that this kind of leads to our next question because based on the statistics Cheska just showed, people in their 20s spend a little more than an hour every day on streaming services, and those in their 30s spend about almost an hour, 54 minutes on these platforms. Does that match your viewing habits in general?
So the reason that I mentioned that is I felt a little bit guilty.
Oh, you spent way much more time.
Exactly.
Same here.
I was like 54. No, because like I said, I definitely have days when I don't even turn on the OTT, but when I do, I almost sometimes just have it on while I'm doing other stuff.
Oh.
And then there are the days when I get like stuck on this like one TV series or movies, like I have to watch it.
Until the very last episode.
Yeah, and then you start like creating your own algorithm of trying to find the same movie of that director or that actor. So you go on the spree. So I definitely think I'm more than the statistics. Yeah.
Well, you're not alone because me too. I think I spend
Oh,
well
that's good.
over 70 minutes on average, even if it's a work day,
Yeah.
because I also turn on my cell phone and I just look at all the content that's available when I'm just doing anything, I guess. So yeah, I feel guilty.
Okay,
as
that's
well.
good. I feel much better. Thank you, Yujin.
How about you, Hyunwoo?
You know, I think I'm feeling more guiltier than
Oh,
y'all too.
really?
You know, I think so because whenever, as Cheska mentioned, if I start watching a show, I have to finish it.
Yeah, you're
So
one
if
of those.
if I average it out, you know, maybe 100 minutes maybe per week. So that statistic, maybe for the vast majority of people, might sound, you know, about right to me, especially as someone in their early 20s. You know, looking at myself and my friends, the time that we used to spend watching like TV and going to the movies, that's always been, you know, some part of our media culture, but that's all been replaced by all of these streaming services
Right,
now.
right.
And you know, it used to be the case where you would have to wait a few weeks or maybe a few months to go to the theaters to watch,
Right.
you know, a
Exactly,
few movies. But many films today are just released simultaneously on the big screen and also on a streaming service too. And of course, that's thanks to like COVID-19 changing how we consume media and giving the cost of going to a theater and also paying for cable.
Right.
You know, it also just kind of seems like the economic choice and a no-brainer to just watch that on a streaming service now.
Because if you just pay for your monthly subscription fee for one streaming service, then you get to enjoy
Yeah,
almost an infinite
exactly.
amount of content. And there is a reason why we're talking about this particular topic about streaming services. As mentioned in the VCR, the Chuseok holiday is about to start in South Korea. And once again, it's the perfect time to catch up on all the content you've missed. I kind of feel guilty because I feel like I'm attracting more of our viewers to spend like more than 100 minutes on streaming services during the holiday.
We're
every day.
promoting
Yeah.
binge watching.
But on the producer side, it's actually a great opportunity
Yes.
for services to release new content around the holiday period, since everyone, including us, are looking for something very new and fresh to watch. So I want to ask our panelists, do you have any recommendations for our viewers who are planning to tuning in during this period?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a phrase that Koreans use a lot. 오늘은 뭐 볼까?
Oh.
Like, what should we watch today?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty confident that during the Chuseok holiday, this phrase will be repeated quite a lot.
What am I
among-
going to watch today,
Yeah,
tomorrow, the day after?
exactly. Among the families and friends when they gather. So there are some thrillers that came out. I don't know if you
Ooh.
heard. It's called The Frog.
The Frog?
Yeah, the 숲속에서, and I think
Oh.
it's a TV series, and it's actually garnering a lot of support from people. The other one is 경성 Creatures #2 is coming out pretty soon, so that might be something. If you guys are interested in the thriller section, might be interesting to watch
Well,
out.
it's summer, so it's still summer.
Sort of ish, yeah. But for those who have a chicken heart like I do, then I think you always want to go with the classics. There's something fun and something very light. So what I do is I usually go to very old movies.
Oh, classic one.
Yeah, classic ones. So even though it's not the season yet, like around September, I start watching like Love Actually,
Oh,
or
I
like
love that
Notting
movie.
Hill, yeah, or like About Time, like those things that kind of make me feel good and happy because I'm with family and it's a holiday. So those are two very different recommendations I would give. Yeah.
Right, so thrillers and also classic movies
Yes.
are recommendations from Cheska. Now let's hear from Hyunwoo.
Yeah, I'll try to make recommendations kind of service by service because what tends to happen is you subscribe to a platform and then something comes out that you want to watch, but then it's not available on the platform that you subscribe to. So you just kind of start collecting and getting all of the services in the world. So starting with Disney Plus, much like Netflix, they didn't really have much of a hit series after moving
Right,
in 2023. But The Tyrant, which was recently released, appears to be bringing a lot of attention, not only in Korea, but also in countries like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. On Korean streaming service Tving, its original historical drama titled Queen Wu has also been
yes,
very popular.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah, it's like a historical drama. And the hit series Pachinko is also back with its second
Season
season.
two.
Yeah, season 2 on Apple TV Plus, and it's also been met with a lot of like critical acclaim and positive reviews. And it's topped charts in 14 countries.
Wow.
Yeah, including Korea and also in Japan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. Meanwhile, Wave, which is another Korean streaming service, has also seen more popular Korean dramas added to its library. So you're getting a lot of these streaming services add more and more content throughout the world.
You're providing a lot of good recommendations for our viewers. So these are the recommendations from us, but now let's hear from our viewers, because we also asked them how often they watch Korean content on streaming services and what genres or content they enjoyed the most. And here's what 3 of them had to say. If we look at the comments, Leonteo93 says, Korean OTT content or streaming services has exploded in popularity in recent years. Personally, I'm into reality TV programs like The Devil's Plan and Agents of Mystery, where strategy and problem solving is involved. SunnyJ99 says, I love Squid Game Season 1, so I'm looking forward to the release of Season 2. I also enjoyed watching A Killer Paradox. The drama was full of irony and it asked one big question at the end. This kept me focused on the series and made the storyline appealing. SunnySun722 says, I like to watch Korean OTT contents about Korean history or historical figures. It helps me understand more about Korean culture and how the present Korea society has been made. So a lot of interesting and must-watch recommendations from our viewers as well. Now, for more on this topic, we're now going to invite an expert to our talks right after this break. Right, so today we're joined by Jason Bettervais, Assistant Professor at Hanyang University's Office of International Affairs. Welcome, Professor, to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here to talk about K-content.
Thank you for joining us. So our first question for you is, we mentioned this earlier, but what are some of the most popular Korean shows or movies on streaming platforms these days?
Well, there's just so much to choose from, isn't there? You know, you've got Mission Cross, which is a Korean film starring Hwan Jung-min, which is actually doing pretty well. I mean, it launched in top place on the Netflix streaming chart. 7.8 million hours viewed rather in its first week, and it stayed in the top 10. Over the last few weeks. You got Miss Night and Day, starring Lee Jong-un from Parasite. That's doing very well on Netflix. It's been in the top 10 for 8 weeks, and it reached number 2. And sometimes with Netflix you can have a drama that maybe has a slow start and then really builds. That was true of like The Glory, for example. And so, yeah, that's doing really well. The Frog is another interesting example. Again, it launched in the top 10, but it wasn't accumulating, as many hours viewed as maybe some other dramas, but it's doing quite well in its second week. Now it's got 30 million hours viewed. So, I'm very curious. It seems to, I haven't finished it yet, but it's a very alluring drama. So there's Pachinko Season 2, which I haven't seen yet. The first season was fantastic. I'm a big fan of the book, and by all accounts, the second season's, as good, if not better. So I don't expect that to necessarily take off in Korea in the same way that perhaps some other shows have done so, but I do expect it to resonate with viewers, particularly in North America.
As you mentioned the list, it seems like diversity is definitely the strength of K-content, but we're also very curious if there are any commonalities among the trending content these days. What are the MZOs looking for in the contents? Okay,
I think broadly there are 2 trends that are emerging at the moment. There's the genre-driven content, so the focus on, thrillers, which is what Netflix have been financing now for a number of years. So, of course, The Frog is a good example of that. But you've also got shows that are doing quite well on Disney Plus. No Way Out, The Roulette, which is actually I finished. It's pretty. I love the first 2 or 3 episodes, which pay kind of homage to a lot of Korean films like. The Chaser, for example, and various others. And then you've also got another trend emerging, which I think is what the local streamers tend to be financing. So this is kind of relying more on the established conventions in Korean dramas. So, you know, kind of like romantic comedies. You know, often you have someone falling in love. You know, someone from a working class background falling in love with with someone who's obviously, you know, very affluent, you know, like a chaebol heiress, like, you know, in Queen of Tears, and then you've got Lovely Runner, and then Love Next Door, which is doing pretty well. I mean, it's available, I think, on Netflix globally. You know, this is a CJ drama. And, you know, they are financing kind of expensive content like Queen Wu, which isn't doing as well. So, you know, they're finding success in some of the kind of, I would say, more cheaper to produce. So, you know, they're not relying on these really expensive visuals. They do have to pay, you know, for the high profile names to feature in the dramas. But, you know, compared to like a Netflix, you know, drama, which, you know, might cost $30 million to produce or $20 million. So, you know, I think they're finding success kind of going back to what has traditionally done quite well in Korea, whereas some of the more kind of genre-driven content has traditionally done very well overseas, and you've seen that with Korean films. You know, the directors of Park Chan-wook, Bong Joon-ho, Kim Ji-yoon, you know, they found success, you know, overseas, and of course, Squid Game, you know, is another example of that. You know, this is a series that, you know, dropped on Netflix, you know, a few years ago, and just, you know, huge kind of global phenomenon it was. But, you know, it was a Korean direct. It was, you know, included various of the genre elements that associated with Korean cinema. And so I think, yeah, it's interesting to see the kind of the different trends that are emerging right now.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really interesting point that you make. And Professor, as someone who does have a lot of experience watching Korean content, are there any Korean dramas or movies that you'd like to suggest to our viewers to check out during the holidays?
Okay, so in terms of dramas, it's interesting this year. I mean, you talked about Chuseok quite a bit, and obviously that's, you know, one of the big holiday seasons. And this year there aren't actually that many dramas dropping on the services in time for Chuseok. You know, Squid Game is actually a Chuseok drama. You know, it dropped on the service just before Chuseok a few years ago. But this year, I think partly because, you know, last year's dramas didn't do all that well. Song of the Bandits, which is, you know, underperformed for Netflix. And so you do have Soul Busters, which is dropping on Disney Plus. I think that's pretty much one of the only big dramas that will be screening on streaming platforms in time for Chuseok. And then you've got Gyeongsan Creature Season 2, which you mentioned. You know, that's at the end of September. I like the first season. I'm really interested in, you know, content that is set during the Japanese colonial period. And again, you know, that's a lot of, you know, genre-driven content in that show. I guess the big thing to look out for is actually in cinemas. It's Veteran 2. You know, I the Executioner is the English title, but in Korea it's known as Veteran 2, and this is a sequel to Yoo Sung-won's box office smash hit Veteran. And so reservations are already looking very strong. Over 150,000 tickets pre-sold. So I expect that to perform extremely strongly over Chuseok. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. It also screened in Toronto. So that's I think the content to look out for.
We'll definitely check them out. All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Happy Chuseok, everyone.
Happy Chuseok. Right, so before we wrap up, any final advice for our viewers who are wondering what to watch during the holiday?
I mean, today we've covered extensive list of things that we would recommend. So I would even suggest that whatever you watch, one, try to spend as much time with your family to try to discuss it or watch together. Or if you're spending Chuseok like myself, where my family is overseas and I have to be by myself, maybe spending a little bit of time outdoors.
Right.
Yeah, it would be very quiet. I already know the city is super quiet, so it's perfect for like cycling and just walking around. So I would give those recommendations on top of the list that we gave. Yeah.
Right, so engage in a variety of activities, not just watching streaming services, though they're very interesting.
They're very interesting, yeah.
And what about you, Hyunwoo?
Yeah, I think that's really good advice that Cheska gave. First and foremost, I'm someone who swears by whatever recommendations pop on my screen in the big algorithm of the streaming services. And I think that goes for a lot of people as well. I don't think I can make any recommendations as relevant and personalized as, you know, the streaming services might give you. So I'll instead suggest maybe for this Chuseok, maybe try viewing different types of genres that you don't usually watch.
Yeah.
And maybe get to watch watch different types of content over the Chuseok. And also, I'd say don't be like me and stay up the whole night watching and binge watching an entire series because you like it so much. You know, spend some time outdoors, right? That's good advice.
Spend less than an average of 70 minutes for those in their 20s and 54 minutes for those in their 30s.
Try to break the statistics, everyone.
Exactly, yeah. As much as holidays are for us to do like what we don't usually have time for, you should definitely get some well-deserved rest over the holidays, and also, you know, get, you know, some time with your family and friends.
Right, family time, some time with your friends, because we're all busy. And holiday is, I think, the best time for us to do these activities and meet those that we haven't had the time or chance to.
Yeah.
Right, so very good advice from our panelists. Hope it helps you spend your Chuseok holiday, if you're in Korea, in the best way. And that's all from us today, but NewsGen will be back tomorrow, Friday at 9:30 a.m. Korean time. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainha.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
And Choi Hyun-woo.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.